absolute bomb over the flag court.
We are family.
Outstanding effort again.
We're busting ours to kick yours.
That's big time.
-15.
Respect all, fear none.
Oh, did he belt that one?
Intensity is not a perfume.
It was a no-doubter.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Orioles Hot Stove Show on MASN All Access is presented by your Baltimore area Toyota dealers. For legendary safety and reliability, choose Toyota, and let's go places. Hey everyone, welcome into the Orioles Hot Stove Show here on MASN All Access. I'm Brendan Mortensen, joined by our MASN Orioles insider, Roch Kubatko. Roch, I think you probably have some climate shock or something here, going from the DR back to Baltimore, which is cold, and then you're going to Florida for spring training in a couple of weeks. Your body's going to be, just really thrown off.
I almost had marital problems because my wife had to shovel snow while I was in the Dominican. I'm like, I didn't time it that way on purpose. It just worked out.
I think that might have been your planning. I know when it's going to snow in Baltimore. I'm going to make sure I'm
going to
away
go
from the
Dominican,
house so I don't have to shovel the driveway.
Smart move.
Yeah, that is good planning. Yes. But I wanted to ask you, Roch, about that trip to the Orioles' new Dominican Academy. You were there, so what were some of your impressions?
I mean, it's such a game changer to have this academy. They've already obviously gotten really involved in the international market, which they hadn't been. Michael Elias, one of the best moves he ever made was hiring Kobe Perez. But to be able now to have this facility, and we talk to people that say, a lot of times, all things being equal, a young kid will go to where they have the better complex, a better academy, and the Orioles have one of the best that there is. So this was really huge. 22.5 acres of apparently was nothing at first. I hadn't seen it, but it was all dirt and trees. And now it really has like an Ed Smith Stadium kind of vibe to it, that complex, if you've been down to spring training, with the 3 practice fields, and they have the mounds, and they have the indoor cages, and they have dormitories, cafeteria, weight room. It's just really impressive. Artificial turf field, things that obviously, that area had not seen, and now the Orioles feel like they can really compete when they can show these kids what they have to offer. And really, it's not just about, and this is something they were really championing, it's not just about teaching baseball. It's like life skills for these kids, because how many of them are going to make the majors? What percentage, a 16-year-old kid from the Dominican or Venezuela, whatever, you don't know. But now they'll be able to acquire other skills that they can take out there to be successful in life. And the nutrition program they have, it's really all-encompassing. It's not just about baseball, and they're obviously really proud of it. They should be. And it's kind of cool to have all these former Orioles coming back. I got a hug from Ubaldo Jimenez. Wasn't expecting it. Melvin Mora, Rocco. I'm like, hey, his quintuplets are 22 now, so we all felt old for a few minutes. Melvin's a grandfather. Didn't know that. So, really everybody in the organization or who has any ties to the organization is really excited about it.
Yeah, and one of the former Orioles that came back as well was Vlad Guerrero Sr., Hall of Famer. And Roch, I know one of your favorite questions is talking about your Hall of Fame ballot. We got a new Hall of Fame class a couple of nights ago. Can you talk about the players that you had on your ballot for that?
And then let's talk about everybody's fantasy baseball teams and football teams. That's
all
what
of your
everybody wants to
favorite
hear about. Yes.
Yeah.
I am not a quote big ballot guy. Like I try to avoid, unless really there's 10 that I feel like absolutely slam dunks. Sometimes I've gone with a couple, 4. I ended up with 6. Chase Utley was fringy. He didn't make it. Adrian Beltre to me was that was the no-brainer. I don't know how many people ended up not putting him on the ballot. I think there are people out there that have this. Nobody should make it their first year. I don't know why. I have no problem with that. Andrew Jones, still no. And I feel like I know he really tailed off the last 5 years or so of his career. 10 Gold Gloves, a force. Did he have 51 home runs one year?
A lot of homers.
A lot of homers. I feel like he's got to be in. Gary Sheffield was interesting because have you glazed over yet, by the way? I'm talking about my ballot.
No, this is my favorite topic.
You love this.
I was just about to bring up my fantasy football team.
Great. Gary Sheffield, for some reason, that was one that swayed me. I know people are going to say he didn't suddenly get any better. Why now? But I had to really think about it, rethink it. The numbers are there. He had ties to Balco. He claimed that it was vitamins. His D-WAR is like minus 27 something. But the guy's offensive numbers are just monstrous, and he didn't fail a test. He's in for me. Billy Wagner, I'm going to try every year. I think this is his 9th year. I'm going to keep trying, just like I was doing with some other closers. Lee Smith, I kept saying, has got to be in. Maybe he's going to be Veterans Committee. I don't know. Joe Mauer, I thought there was some debate because he stopped catching after a certain point.
Right.
A lot of the at-bats were first base DH. I thought he was in all along. And Todd Heldt was somebody that a few years ago I switched on him as well. I think there was that kind of Colorado bias where his numbers are inflated. Then if you actually bother to research, he hit pretty well on the road too. So I thought he should be in. There's certain guys. Manny Ramirez failed 2 tests. No. A-Rod, no. And there's some others I'm like, Carlos Beltran, we were talking about. Is that a guy who should be?
Yeah.
Without the cheating scandal, should Beltran be in? And I think that's somebody I'm going to revisit, and most likely it'll be one of those I'll flip and I'll go ahead and put him in.
Yeah, an interesting era here for Hall of Fame voting because you're starting to have some of those Astros get onto the ballot of that cheating scandal there. So it's going to be an interesting question, and I'm sure you're going to love having it as much next year.
Yes, please. Let's reconvene next year and ask me again.
Absolutely. So let's talk about some current Orioles news, and probably the biggest of the smaller moves that Baltimore has made recently is the acquisition of Tyler Nevin. He was in the organization for a little while, goes to the Tigers, they bring him back. A bit of an odd move on the surface because he doesn't have any minor league options. It seems like something that would be a minor league depth move, but he's not there yet. He's taken up a 40-man roster spot. So what can you tell us about that trade?
Yeah, for now. I feel like, and we could obviously be overthinking this. When you see this, it's like, okay, is this being done because they're figuring if we trade some of our infield prospects or guys who have been on the major league roster, then we have this guy. Or, and maybe more likely at some point, not that I like to predict these things, they could try and get him through waivers and go ahead and take him off the 40, but have him in AAA as somebody that they could bring up. And of course, you can't have him on the shuttle because he's out of options. You could start him down there if you get him off the 40-man. Corner infielder, some corner outfield is not an area where it's like they have a dire need necessarily, so it definitely screams of depth in case there's something else they choose to do. They're familiar with them, and maybe they feel like, hey, there's something we can unlock. His minor league numbers are really good. He just hasn't hit as much in the majors. So maybe they also see something there. Again, that comfort zone. We know this guy. He's a really good clubhouse guy, and we'll bring him in. But it's somebody they could try to get through waivers just to have him in the organization because there are some infielders in AAA who could be shuttling and could be coming up or maybe making their debuts, and you're going to have those spots open down there, or maybe he's somebody that could help them later. Yeah,
as you mentioned, his numbers in AAA are always fantastic. I mean, with the Tigers last year, the OPS was up over 950, and then he gets to the big leagues, and it's in the 600s.
Right, he's got power.
And can play multiple positions, as you mentioned, first base, third base, corner outfield. Do you anticipate Nevin, as we're a few weeks away from spring training, do you anticipate him being somebody that competes for an opening day roster spot, or do you think it's just a pure depth move here?
I mean, you go to camp to compete. So if he's Jake Fox and he gets the Jake Fox Award in spring training, then maybe he forces his way on there, but there would have to be room. But if you're figuring, if you're going to carry somebody who probably is going to be backing up in the corner infield, then who are you not carrying in order to do that?
Right.
So I think it's more likely, again, that it's kind of depth. But, it's in his hands. He could have just a monster spring, and that could force some decisions.
Our MASN Orioles insider, Roch Kubatko, appreciate the insight as always. We'll see you down in Sarasota in a few weeks.
Sounds good, because I can rework this tan a little bit.
The Orioles Hot Stove Show on MASN All Access is presented by your Baltimore area Toyota dealers. For legendary safety and reliability, choose Toyota, and let's go places. Well, if you're a Maryland baseball fan, you might be familiar with the name Maxwell Costas. Born in Baltimore, and he was a Terp as recently as 2022, and now he's finding success in the O's minor league system. Here's a better look at the Maryland product.
My name is Maxwell Costas. I'm an infielder from Baltimore City, Maryland. This has been so cool. It's my hometown team, right? I mean, every kid that, plays baseball at some point has to think about getting to play for their hometown team. I'm literally living my childhood dream right now. After I got the call, my mom went and found this little booklet that I wrote in first grade in the basement, and literally in the book it was like, what is your dream, right? And I said to play for the Baltimore Orioles, and I'm doing that now.
The first pitch to Costas is launched to deep left center field. This one's gonna fly, a home run for Maxwell Costas, out of no doubter by the Baltimore kid.
At every affiliate, I have friends or family near there, and every single time I've moved up a level, whether it was like, going from the FCL till Delmarva, I got friends that live in Salisbury. Went to the University of Maryland, Dad went to Bowie State, like I got tons of friends that live in PG County area. I'm really big into mental health advocacy. I love anime. I get a lot of people that kind of like treat me as this big star or whatever. I'm the easiest person to talk to in the world. I would say one of the biggest things that I've grown as like, being a professional now is being more consistent in what I do every day. Like, how many swings am I taking? Like, what drills am I doing? Like, what's my nutrition looking like? Am I hydrated? Like, being around like all like these top guys, top players. The biggest thing that I kind of took away was the fact that like, it wasn't necessarily like a difference in ability, but more so like being, consistent in what I'm doing every day. Being part of the best farm system in baseball, the things that I've learned since being here, just not even from the coaches and trainers, but like the other players, has been phenomenal in my own growth as a baseball player. Why wouldn't I be wide-eyed about all this? I literally get to wake up every day and live my dream. There's not a lot of people that get to say stuff like that.
Well, that'll just about wrap things up here for the Orioles Hot Stove Show on MASN All Access. Make sure you're following along with all of our Orioles coverage all off-season long on our MASN Orioles social pages, MASNsports.com, and the MASN app. Big thank you to Matt Bonaparte and Bobby Blanco behind the scenes. I'm Brendan Mortensen, and we will catch you next time.